Milei made the most astounding pronouncement at the IDEA conference. Milei was making the business case for investing in Argentina. When?
And our objective is to become the freest country in the world.
The standard of freedom Milei is concerned about is economic freedom. Milton Friedman was the first to propose creating an index of economic freedom for countries. This idea was taken up by the Heritage Foundation and the Fraser Institute. I was lucky enough to meet an economist who worked on this project. Here's a clip of how the Heritage Foundation measures economic freedom and some of its effects.
Each year, the Heritage Foundation measures 10 components of economic freedom, averaging these component scores to rank the world's economies in the annual Index of Economic Freedom. Economically free nations don't get that way because of geographic advantages or abundant natural resources, and unfree economies aren't limited to certain regions. In fact, each region boasts at least one of the world's freest economies. Economic freedom empowers ordinary people with greater opportunity and individual choice. It lets people decide for themselves how best to achieve their highest aspirations. It is an achievement available to any country, regardless of its placement on the map.
As a classical liberal, Milei is not solely concerned with economic freedom. His goal, as he often repeats in his speeches, is to protect the fundamental rights of life, liberty, and property. Milei is not like the socialistic collectivists who have distorted the meaning of freedom to mean freedom from reality, which is really slavery. Nor does Milei mean freedom from morality and law. Milei explains how in the first year his administration has already implemented reforms that will cause Argentina's economic freedom index to jump by 90 positions, putting Argentina on par with many Western European nations.
Therefore, I want you to have a historical context that we are living in a government that made the biggest structural reform in the history of Argentina. That is different also. And what does that imply? It implies that we are going to jump 90 positions in times of economic freedom, and those countries that are free are 12 times richer than the repressed. They have 25 times less poverty in the standard format, and 50 times less in the extreme format. And we are moving towards institutions that they could compare with those that Germany, France, Italy, any of the countries in Europe.
Echoing Milei, the Fraser Institute explains the advantages of economic freedom as
the Fraser Institute's annual Economic Freedom of the World report. High levels of personal choice, easy access to markets, low taxation, limited government regulation, and rule of law. In short, economic freedom. Each year, the Economic Freedom of the World report shows that countries with high levels of economic freedom experience less poverty. Let's look at the numbers, based on data from 157 countries and territories worldwide. When it comes to income, people in countries with the most economic freedom earn substantially more money than people in the least economically free countries. And in all of these countries, the amount of income earned by the poorest 10% of the population is much higher in countries with greater levels of economic freedom. Where there's more economic freedom, it's easier to accumulate savings and start or expand a business or find a job. This helps increase income levels, including among the poorest 10%. Another thing, where economic freedom increases, literacy rates rise. In the most free countries, literacy rates eclipse 93%, yet drop below 65% in the least free countries. And the life expectancy in countries with the most economic freedom is about 17 years longer than in countries with the least. Higher incomes, better education, longer, healthier lives. The fruits of economic freedom.
Given the overwhelming advantages of economic freedom, it's amazing that more politicians don't tout their economic freedom scores. Are you listening, President Bukele and President Trump?
And our objective is to become the freest country in the world.